everyone, and welcome back to a brand new round of box office predictions. Before we launch into our recap of last weekend and how I did, which I'm kind of dreading right now, we've got some fantasy movie league shoutouts to give, and not just some, we've got 38 in total. 38 players in the Predictions with Perri League are trying to close out award season strong, and here they all are. They all inch a little bit closer to winning the season. And again, just in case you don't know, I give a prize out every single season to the top player in the league. So curious to see who winds up with that box of prizes this time around. We will find out soon enough because the season's winding down. Going into my predictions last week, though, so you probably already know this, I'm not especially thrilled with how I did, and I'm not one for making excuses, but this sounded like a good opportunity to give you a little bit of a behind-the-scenes look with how these box office predictions come together, and it also gives me an opportunity to evolve them and reassess and get better next time around. So the way that I do these is every single Wednesday is when I pretty much put together my notes and I start to make graphics and everything, because by the end of the day on Wednesday at the absolute latest is when I have to shoot my video, because then I'm able to edit it Thursday morning before I go to work, and then it's ready for you at the end of the day on Thursday. So with a weekend like last weekend in particular, where I had to shoot on Wednesday, but we had all these movies get these Wednesday releases, and then by the time Thursday rolls around, we pretty much know how they're going to do, but my predictions are already locked. Clearly, there's an issue there, an issue that I'm trying to fix. So bear with me as I mess around with my production timeline a little, but it's all to make these box office predictions stronger, and I'm going to do my best to kick that off this week because I'm feeling pretty good about what I've got. But first, just to recap exactly what happened last time, Alita Battle Angel did exceed expectations with $28.5 million for the 3-day weekend. Then it was the Lego Movie 2, the second part, which wound up holding on fairly strong, dropping 39% and making another $20.8 million. The 3 spot went to Isn't It Romantic, which kicked off its run with $14.2 million for the 3-day weekend. Then it was What Men Want at number 4 with $10.7 million. And finally, at number 5, one I am super disappointed to see come in way under expectations. It was Happy Death Day to You, which only made $9.5 million its first weekend in theaters. Rolling into this weekend's predictions now, for my number 5 pick, I'm going with last weekend's new release, Isn't It Romantic? So I was using the movie How to Be Single last weekend, and now we know Isn't It Romantic opened just behind that one, but I do think How to Be Single's percent change trend is gonna help me here. So looking at its second weekend in theaters, it wound up with a 54.1% drop. Again, Isn't It Romantic has less to lose, so I do think it's going to come under that just a little bit. But given the fact that the movie got a little bit of a lukewarm response opening weekend, and also the fact that Valentine's Day is in the rearview mirror now, I do think it's in for a little bit of a hefty hit, and I'm going to bring How to Be Single's 54.1% drop down to an even 50% for Isn't It Romantic, and that would mean it's making another $7 million this weekend. Next up at number 4, I have a movie that is due for a wide expansion this weekend. It is Fighting with My Family. This one wound up with a pretty nice $35,000 per theater average last weekend at 4 theaters, and I've got a good feeling that positive reviews for this one is going to keep some of that momentum going a little bit. I'm going to look at Eddie the Eagle, which came out about the same time of year back in 2016. When that movie opened up wide, it wound up with a per theater average just under $3,000. Let's say Fighting with My Family posts something similar, and then I apply that number to its slightly wider release than what Eddie the Eagle got. We come in with $7.5 million for Fighting with My Family's first wide release. Now we're moving on to the 3 spot, and that is where I have the Lego Movie 2, the second part. That 39% drop last weekend was a very nice hold, but at this point, the holiday weekend is behind us, and also How to Train Your Dragon 3 is entering the race, so I do think we are in for a pretty big hit when it comes to the Lego Movie 2. And to get me started with all these numbers here, I'm going to look at the Lego Batman movie, because that movie, weekend 3, it was also the weekend after President's Day weekend, and it wound up dropping 41.2%. So if I start with that number, I did want to raise it all the way up initially to 50% for the Lego Movie 2. But the thing is, at this point in its run, one, the Lego Batman movie did have more to lose, but it also wasn't up against something like How to Train Your Dragon 3. The only new wide release that weekend was Get Out, so if I kind of find a middle ground there, I wind up raising that percent change maybe about 5%, let's say 46% drop for the Lego Movie 2 this time around, and if that's the hit it winds up taking, it's going to close out the weekend with another $11.3 million. And now it's on to that 2 spot, and that is where I have Alita Battle Angel. I'm actually feeling pretty good about this one having a strong hold this weekend. I've been hearing encouraging things from folks who have seen the movie. It's got an A- cinema score, a great score right there, and then on top of that, it just seems like everything is trending in a positive direction. I'm going to look at the Maze Runner, the first Maze Runner for this movie right now. A similar audience. That movie also had the A- cinema score, and it was also released during what is typically considered a slower time of year at the box office. Weekend 2, that movie dropped 46.4%, but it did have a little more to lose than what Alita is working with this time around. So I'm bringing that percent change down to 43%, and that would mean Alita is making another $16 million this weekend. And now finally, my number 1 pick is the big newcomer of the weekend. It is How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World. Looking at the other 2 films in this series, the first one opened in 2010 with $43.7 million, and then that number climbed with the release of the sequel in 2014 to $49.5 million. I actually think that trend is going to continue for How to Train Your Dragon with number 3 here, because buzz seems to be strong, the ticket sales are looking good right now, and also it doesn't have much new competition. Of course, Fighting With My Family is expanding, but there's not all that much crossover there, so I think this one is in very good shape to exceed the studio expectations, topping $40 million, and also topping the second installment and posting something like, let's go with $50 million for How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World's first weekend in theaters. That, of course, brings us to the recap portion of our show. I've got How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World topping the charts with $50 million. Then it's Alita Battle Angel taking my 2 spot with $16 million. The Lego Movie 2 coming in at number 3 with $11.3 million. Then it's Fighting With My Family getting $7.5 million for its wide expansion. And finally, Isn't It Romantic closing out the top 5 with $7 million. All right, it is your turn now. Hit that comment section below. Put your top 5s and your number picks right there. Head on over to Fantasy Movie League and lock those lineups. We've got the URL and the password in the description section of this video. Start prepping for a brand new season. If your award season is a lost cause, kind of like mine is at this point, start practicing for the next time around. We got a new season upon us real soon. Before I say goodbye to you guys, I got some Patreon shout-outs to give, and it's for yet another great group of guys who I greatly appreciate their support, joining the campaign at all, but also with this particular group, the continued support I get from them. It is David, Steven, Dylan, Jimmy, Andrew, and Jefferson. Thank you guys so much for being here. You contribute to keeping all of this up and running, and you guys know how much I love making these videos. So really, thank you for being a part of the Patreon team, and thanks to everyone out there for watching these videos. As always, do not forget to like and share this one, and next week, I'm going to check back in on these box office predictions, and hopefully I'll do a little better this time around. See you guys soon.